Hello everybody and welcome! My name is Ursa and this is an update video. Could you believe it's already August? Actually, it's already the end of August. Madness! It's been ages, months, weeks and weeks, many moons since I did one of these, so I hope everybody's well. I've generally been doing very good myself, I can't complain. And most importantly, as I get to update you all on the channel and everything happening around it, you'll be able to see in the background, as tradition dictates, another game is being played today for your delectation. I have a game where I'm playing Sweden. I've even got the difficulty turned up to Deity++. Yes, that fabled difficulty setting number 10. This was for the August Discord challenge that the mods on my Discord set for everybody. I've never actually done one before, so I thought it would be good fun, and yeah, it turned out to be a really fun game. If you haven't been to the Discord, haha, plug, look at that, smooth, and you want to give this challenge a go, or you haven't given a challenge like this a go before, it's really worth it because you can play it on any difficulty you want, and you can play it with any map, any game style, any starting age, any mods you want enabled. It's fine, it's totally flexible, there are some good achievements to get, it's really good fun. Give it a try. I know I did, and now you get to see it in the background. I'm actually going to talk about this game, this run, at the end of the video, so stick around and I'll tell you all about it then. And honestly, it's worth sticking around for because it was an insane game and it went so much better than I thought it would. Like, you just have to stick around. And yeah, as I was writing the script for this update video, I know, I script them. Would you believe, oh my word, this rambling actually has a framework to it. You'd never believe it listening to it, would you? As I was planning the script for this video, I realized it is actually a shame that I haven't done an update video in a while because, honestly, I love making them just purely because of the civ you get to see in the background. I so rarely play for me. Sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but every game I play on Civ 6 is filmed. There's no point me playing this game if I'm not filming it for YouTube because, my goodness, I have to do so much filming for YouTube, so actually being able to do this for me was really good fun. I need to do more of it, to be fair. Even being able to play without chatting live is quite a liberating thing. I can have a podcast on in my ear, I can just be chatting. It's really, really good fun. It's also really funny for the editing. Now, one of the big problems I have when making these update videos is I never know how long the update videos are going to be, and there's two parameters here. Firstly, I don't know how much footage I'm going to have in terms of gameplay. Will it take me an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours to play the game? I don't know. Until I play the game, who knows really. I also have no idea how long I'm going to be rambling for. I have a script of a few pages worth of notes that I'm going to be chatting about, but how long these videos are is a total mystery. The number you want to look out for is 25%. That is the magic number, or the magic percentage. A percentage is a number, right? 0.25? I guess it is a number. 25% is the magic number because I render and edit these videos in Sony Vegas. Now, a lot of different YouTubers use a lot of different software. I know a lot of people use Adobe products, and I think I've seen other Apple-based products as well, but Sony Vegas is what I use. Now, a behind the scenes thing is if you have a video file or any file in Sony Vegas, you can speed it up and slow it down by compressing or extending the video. Now, imagine you have an hour-long video. If I compress it to 30 minutes, it will be at 2 times speed, and if I dragged it to 2 hours, it would be at half speed, so generally speaking, pretty fun. And easy to do. The problem is, Sony Vegas only lets you compress a video to 1/4 of its original size. You can only compress it by 4 times once you get beyond that point. It's really tricky. There's all kinds of different weird things you have to do behind the scenes to start compressing it beyond that point, and it's very fiddly. So it always gives me the problem. I know roughly how much footage I've got. Can I talk beyond 25% of the time it takes me to finish the game? I never know, I never do it. I've only ever done it once in an update video, and it was like a breath of fresh air. Editing the thing took me so much less time than if I have to do the double compression. So, I know, do I talk? Do I ramble and just go off on one repeatedly through the whole video, or do I have to try and toe the line, keep it brief, and actually talk about sensible things? Only you will know, depending on how long this update video has gone for, but I like to think that you all just enjoy me chatting as well. It's a weird thing to say now I think about it. YouTube is a very strange thing. It's very difficult to describe. I sit here just chatting to myself because I know thousands of people will watch it. Really, really, really odd. I cannot describe it very well. But enough intro, about me and how things are going. Generally, honestly, things have been so busy recently, and in a good way, being fair. I've been keeping myself incredibly busy trying to basically film daily content for the channel. Now, I appreciate daily content is something that very few YouTubers do. I kind of fell into it a couple of years ago, and I really enjoy putting out something every day because I really believe it gives a certain sort of predictability to the channel. I know that most of my loyal followers and channel supporters really do enjoy having a little something every day, and so the daily thing is kind of stuck around. And honestly, yes, it does take a huge amount of time to edit and film and render and do all the artwork for these videos, but that's kind of when I speak to friends and family and they're like, oh, what have you been doing? And I sort of look and go, oh, it's August. Last time I updated was in April, and I've basically just been doing this. I really enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but man, I have been really busy. My world has been made infinitely easier though. You probably know because I've mentioned this a few times, but Sleepy Sofa Bear, aka my wife, now edits most of my videos, which is such a help. And honestly, it's kind of the reason I've been able to film a lot more in the last few months. The double power team of filming and editing and between us getting these things out, it honestly has helped so much in terms of me getting the content out. And a lot of people have been saying, oh, don't burn yourself out, don't go crazy on the content, and oh my word, your videos are so much longer than they used to be. Yeah, well, that is all very true, but honestly, I feel like I'm doing okay at the moment and it's all fine, and that's because I get so much help putting this stuff out. I really can't complain, and I just thought it would be an interesting insight behind the scenes as to the fact that, yeah, I really don't edit many of these videos myself. This video, this update video, I will have edited myself, so if you see a noticeable decrease in the quality of what's coming out, that could be why. Yeah, the quality of editing that Sleepy Sofa Bear does is just so good, and I really hope you're enjoying. Actually, since the last update video in March, this would have been the noticeable difference between then and now. I feel like the quality of the videos we're putting up, just in terms of the edit and the cuts and all that sort of thing, I feel like it's really come a long way, so fingers crossed you're all enjoying it. And to be fair, looking at the stats of the channel, I feel like it has been appreciated, because honestly, the channel the last few months and in the last sort of 5 months has gone absolutely nuts. As of the point of recording this, we're just below 17,000 subscribers, which, as numbers go, is incredibly mad. About a month ago, we were watching Wimbledon, and somebody mentioned that the centre court of Wimbledon actually seats about 15,000 people. I might have got that slightly wrong, but that's less than the subscribers on the channel. And when you hear weird things like that, you sort of go, huh, yeah. Like, I'll look at a video and see thousands of views and go, oh, that's a nice number, without actually contextualizing what that would look like in terms of people stood in front of me. Like, if I went into a field and took 5,000 people and stood them in front of me, I would honestly have a panic attack. That would be so many people. So yeah, the channel growth has been absolutely nuts. I did want to say thank you everyone for all of your support. The growth and the loyalty and the traction and the views and the minutes watched, everything is just insane. I couldn't have asked for more. I couldn't have asked for more support. Honestly, I never thought we'd get to this point. Whenever I look at the stats in the morning, if I see a video after a few days that's done, say, like 4,000-5,000 views, I'll look at it and go, huh, hardly anyone's watched that. Like, that change of mentality has been crazy. Most videos I put out now get 10,000 views, and I never believed I'd ever get to that stage. That's mad. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, and we did a thing recently. We put a Pokemon video up, and I really, really hope that everybody that watched it enjoyed it. It was such a project for me, and being honest, 50% of it was for the channel and to get some new content and a new game and a new style of video, but the other 50% of that video was genuinely for me. It was a training exercise, effectively. The amount of work I had to put in terms of the behind the scenes filming, I had to do this process where when I played the game, which took me about 9 hours or so, I had to keep detailed notes about filming sessions, things that happened, when they happened, and then script the video with a proper script that I then read out and edited back and stuck over the video. It honestly felt a lot more like, I would guess, producing a TV show would look like. It was such an edited production in comparison to what I used to put out, say, a year ago, in terms of just my Civ content would be just taking out the gaps and basically monologuing and hoping that made sense in terms of a script script once it was all put together. This was a genuine exercise and training of a totally different set of skills for me. And even if the Pokemon videos aren't something I do like loads and loads and loads going into the future, that's the sort of skill that as a creator, man, that was a learning exercise for me, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I really hope that people that did watch that really took something from it. I thought it came out really, really well, and the traction it got. Again, I was half expecting a video like that to tank. It's not that uncommon for established YouTubers to play a different style of game and get maybe 10 to 15% of the views that they would normally do if they are like, you know, Ursa Ryan channel is very, very heavily focused on one thing. Like a 10-15% viewer count would not be unheard of. Pokemon's on like 40 to 50% of the views that I would normally get. That's such an amazing result, and for a first attempt at something, I'm so grateful for everybody that actually took it quite literally under Pidgey's wings and came and watched it on the premieres and did that all with me. I thank you so much. It was a bit of a heart leap for me in terms of emotion that went into it, but also there's kind of that bit of a hope that people like it and they enjoy what I'm doing, and seeing generally the positive reaction on it was a really cool thing. That's one thing I can never ever understate on the channel. The loyalty of the audience I have is insane. I've mentioned this on update videos before. You'll see a lot of YouTubers out there that, especially ones that are blowing up and maybe they've had a few videos that have gone viral and they've been sent across the internet for whatever reason, they'll always be talking about the fact that, ooh, only 85% of my views, or 85% of my views come from non-subscribed sources, and, you know, hit the sub button. I've never had that problem. So many of my viewers are subscribed already, and I like to think that when you find the channel, you stick around because it's a fantastic environment and a fantastic community, and the content we put out is pretty good as well. Trying to grow that audience now, that's a whole other ball game, and we'll get to that in a second, but there's my thank you section. It is genuine and it is heartfelt. Thank you everyone for your support about all of the things that we've done over the last few months. Now, if you do want to support the channel, I'll just quickly go through the plugs. The Ko-fi account. Now, if you've never seen Ko-fi as a website before, I think I mentioned this when it first came out, but it was a very interesting website. It's basically a competitor to Patreon. You go onto Ko-fi, you sign up as a channel subscriber, and there are benefits you get. So the smaller tier allows you to become a supporter on Patreon, or on Discord, I should say. Because this is the thing, I have a Patreon, and I always call it Patreon, and Patreon and Discord were always linked, and I have to remember, no, Ryan, no, you have a Ko-fi as well, so channel supporters is what we say now. Just shows you how far we've come. Being in that tier of supporter means that you can help with things like creating the A to Z series, which is something we're doing at the moment. All of that series, every single time we go from Arabia to America to whatever it might be. Actually, that's ignoring alphabetical rules. You know what I mean on that. That's all the channel supporters. We have a community on Discord where I will throw out, say, at the moment, it's, I think, the Dutch, and then Egypt, and then England are the next 3 to come out. And I say, help me. I've done so many series. Can you make a series idea for me? And they've been fantastic. Every series you've seen in the A to Z so far has been made by the channel supporters. So that's something that if you ever wanted to get involved with, that would be a cool thing. There are extended tiers for people who get shouted out at the end of the videos. There are tiers above that. There's also a tip jar on Ko-fi, which offers you like a one-off donation ability if you honestly fancy sending just a couple of dollars or quid or euros or whatever they are in my direction. It just helps to keep me sane because it basically can help me get that cup of coffee in town and the extra little bits here and there. It's a huge support. And the reason for Ko-fi, honestly, was a bit of diversification. I like Patreon. Patreon is really, really cool. It's a fantastic mechanism, but it does take a bit of a cut, and Ko-fi is a smaller cut, and it's also a bit of an upstart in the arena. You don't want there to ever be a monopoly on any sort of product that's supporting the channel. Now, the difference between YouTube earnings and Patreon earnings is that I can predict what Patreon is going to be. So it was always a really reliable support mechanism that really helps me to basically run the channel. And it's the difference between me being able to do this stuff easily and not so easily. It helped me to buy the new PC, which has massively increased the quality of the content we've been putting out. It helps me to get the equipment I need behind the scenes to make this sort of stuff go through. It helps me to make this a reality. So Patreon was always a massive part of that. And having Ko-fi as well gives people a choice, but it also means that because the fees are lower, Patreon is kind of kept on its toes a little bit. As Ko-fi begins to grow, you'll hear more and more creators using it, and I think it's going to be really disrupting. From my point of view, the two are identical. You get the same things on both. There's no differentiation in terms of ranking supporters from one thing to another. That's the reason I have both. Most people know what Patreon is, and a lot of people don't know what Ko-fi is, so I'm never planning on getting rid of Patreon. It's just an interesting one. But again, I do always mention this, it's totally fine if you can't support the channel like that, because most of the channel support comes from the things that are free. And I kind of, instead of just wanting to randomly plug this, I thought I'd give it a bit of a contextual plug, because we recently attended an online conference, a 2-day conference hosted by YouTube that was really interesting. I think it was called Creator 360. It was a UK content creator network. And I think at one point there must have been about 800 channels online at once. It was a massive thing. There were a lot of channels on it that were huge channels. There were some channels even I had heard of before out of context, which I found really interesting. There were also a huge amount of very small channels, including, and you imagine, like, basically we were using this conferencing app where you could watch a screen and there was like a chat channel on the right hand side, and half of the chat was really interesting points about what was going on in the conference, but I would say another half were people just spamming links to their own YouTube channel, basically going sub for sub, sub for sub. And you think, this is not the place to be doing this. This is supposed to be a forum where we can all get together and learn about YouTube and basically learn how to collaborate with each other and make network linking. You know, it was like a huge mixer, effectively, was kind of what it turned out to be. So, and I didn't realize sub for sub was still a thing. I thought that was a meme back from 2016, you know? So it was really funny just watching those come out and like, oh, help me get to 25 subscribers. I really want to do it by the end of the year. And you're like, oh, bless you. This is not the way to do it. I remember being in that position, and it's just really, oh, it was really funny. But genuinely, the conference was really interesting. Could it have been over one day rather than two? Quite possibly. There were a couple of sessions that were maybe not as interesting as others, but there were some really interesting sessions. One of the most interesting parts of it was actually, for the first time in a long time, they broke down the YouTube algorithm a little bit and how it works, and I found that really fascinating. Now, Google historically are incredibly tight-lipped about exactly how the algorithm works, because if they ever told people, it would be open to abuse and even worse, scrutiny. And we know big tech companies don't like scrutiny, eh? Haha! So getting any detail on the algorithm is honestly really interesting. I've spoken before about how views are no longer important on videos at all. As a metric, they're basically ignored. These days, it's watch time and watch percentage is the main drivers, and I've definitely mentioned that before. So this is why having slightly longer videos these days, and why we're pushing more as a channel to kind of 40-45 minutes in a video. That's sort of why. The more watch time you get, the better the video gets sort of shipped out. Watch percentage is equally important, and this is something that I guess will come with time and practice. They gave a figure. You have to kind of try and aim for 50% retention. And retention is, say you start watching a video like this update video, do you watch 50% of it before you either leave or get bored or close or whatever it is? Do you watch 50% of the video? If you have an average retention of more than 50%, the algorithm will throw you everywhere. It goes, yes, if we show this video to somebody, you're gonna watch it. And that's really good, because YouTube wants you to be hooked to your computer for ever and ever. It never wants you to have a life. It never wants you to go and see your friends. It never wants you to go outdoors. You have to have your nose on your computer, on your phone at all points. Retention is a huge thing. And I mean, I don't mind saying the channel average retention on videos is not 50%. It's a bit lower than that. I mean, not a huge amount lower, but a bit lower. And it was really interesting to have a bit of a target painted on it. Now, I've seen before the shorts and clips of YouTubers who advocate themselves as being these sort of tech savants or YouTube savants about how to make things work. And honestly, some of the advice they give is totally different and opposite to a lot of the advice we were receiving from YouTube themselves, but that 50% retention was a really interesting point. Another one of the things that came out, which I knew before, was obviously click-through rate. It's kind of your thumbnail game, how good your thumbnails are. You want as high a percentage of people that are shown the video to click on it as possible, and basically the algorithm is click-through rate times by view percentage and view length is sort of a weird combined metric. But another thing that was confirmed was that the algorithm then multiplies that again by the sort of like and dislike ratio that your video receives. Likes on a video actually are a really, really important metric compared to everything else, which I honestly I thought likes were a little bit like views these days, being honest. So it's one of those things, if you want to support the channel, or not just this channel, any channel on YouTube, get into the habit of pressing the like button when you watch a video. Now, I know personally, I'm not very good at doing that. I should do it more, and I'm making more of a concerted effort to do it. I know especially when you're using mobile, it can be a little bit of a faff to do it if you've got the screen on full view, but it's a really, really big thing. So if there's one thing you take away from this, and if you notice me plugging it a little bit more, liking the video is a hugely important thing. If that increases a bit more, the algorithm will pick up the videos more. Whether that's a metric that should be looked at as much, I don't know. I don't know if that's the cleverest way of doing it, being honest, but it is what it is. And it's one of those things that it's an interesting battle for myself intellectually, because getting discovered has so far been the most tricky thing on the channel. The audience I have is so loyal, and you are so good at watching the content, that when I compare how the channel does in terms of views, minutes, all of the metrics behind, and I compare that to my subscriber count, I outperform pretty much every other channel I've compared to. Like, it's insane how productive my subscriber base is. I just don't have the subscriber base. Now, I'm not complaining, because honestly, the loyal audience is a fantastic thing, but it's always been an interesting one in terms of how to get the algorithm to pick me up a little bit. If I look at other Civ YouTubers who also have bigger audiences, I can think of a few just in my head. There are Civ people that have 20 to even more times how many subscribers I have. So the audience is out there. It's just finding them. So if you hear me plugging things a lot, there is good reason to it. The algorithm is something you have to tackle logically and methodically, and it's really interesting. You know, ultimately, all I can do is continue to work hard on it, and that's kind of why the daily videos has always been kind of a nice way of hitting that for me. Is it the most logical way? I mean, could I put one video out a week and make them really, really clickbaity and super edited and really, really memeable and viral and all this sort of thing? Yes, I probably could, but it would be a kind of a little bit different to how the channel has felt all these years. So I like what we do. I think it's a good model that could be scaled up and do really well. But anyway, I just thought it would be interesting to share some of the things behind the scenes I've been looking at. Fantastic things about channel branding and how to brand your content and how to earn revenue outside of certain products, and things about live streaming and things about, there's all kinds of different things. It was a really, really handy conference, because so like anything in life, so much of YouTube is not really explained. Like, I can pick up a camera, I can edit a video and put it on YouTube, but how to do it properly is an art form, and no one really ever knows the answer in terms of how to do that properly. So it was really, really interesting. There was also a talk from the editor who does a lot of Paul Logan and Mr. Beast's videos, which again, I know is a totally different genre. I realize it's Logan Paul, not Paul Logan. That just shows you how up to date I am with youth, eh? But it was really interesting listening to his take on it, because again, a very different style of content. So yeah, these are the sort of things we've been doing in the background, and honestly, it's paying off. With the channel growth as it is, we're so close to making this a thing. So thank you for all your support. We keep going, and my goodness, do I pray every day, every single day, that Civ 7 will come out soon. Oh, no news on that. Oh, we'll be lucky if it's in 2024. I really, really hope Civ 7 comes out, because honestly, the growth that every single Civ 6 channel had when the game came out was exponential. And just as like a behind the scenes thing, I've done the research. If Civ 7 came out right now with the subscriber base, my goodness, the channel would blow up. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But until it does, we have to make some content for the channel. Upcoming content alert. Well, if you have living under a rock for a little while, you'll know that, you won't know because you will be living under a rock. I don't know where I was going with that. That's an analogy that kind of broke down as I was saying it. A to Z, that's what I mean to say. We're doing A to Z on Civ, and it's going really, really well. As I mentioned before, the channel supporters have been putting the series together for me. We're going back and forth to make it. That will continue all the way through every single Civ. Some frequently asked questions. You've just put a video out that isn't A to Z. What happened to A to Z? Well, I said I wouldn't do every single video I put out would be A to Z chronologically. I am going to do other things, but the A to Z will be basically the meat of the channel for a little while. Ursa, doesn't Alexander come first? No, because I was doing A to Z on civilization name, not on the name of the leader. Ursa, some Civs have multiple leaders. Are you doing multiple series? No, I'm doing one on every country. 50 series is quite enough. Ursa, are all of your games going to be modded, or are they all going to be not modded? Part of how I do this channel is I bounce between every single style of play that I can. I like to do silly series, serious series. I like to play crazy games, really difficult games, challenge games, just god start games. We do everything, and that includes modded content and non-modded content, and I do a bit of everything for everyone. Variety is the spice of life, after all, and we've got to try a little bit of everything at all points, and the A to Z series has been a really fantastic way of doing that. I will be continuing to throw other games in, so a lot of TSL games, if I fancy something because I see a mod in the store that I really like, if someone comes along in a comment with an idea for a video, if there's a collaboration that I'm going to be doing, all those sort of things will interrupt the A to Z series, but I do plan on going through A to Z until we finish, and it's going to take some time. Can we do it this year? Probably not. It'll probably be a bit close. It might be early 2023 by the time we're done, but it's all good fun and it's all something to look forward to. I am now starting to film other content for other games as well, so you have already heard me talk about the Pokemon video, the Pidgey Fire Red run that went up. I'm going to be doing other Pokemon games. Again, I have to do things that I really like, and I love playing those, so that's going to be something that I'm going to do. It was also, again, a really good learning experience, so for me, it's something that's worth keeping on, and generally speaking, if you do lots of a type of video, people will start to watch it more. So you've got to give it a fair crack. I need to do sort of half a dozen Pokemon videos at the very least to make sure that people are a little bit used to the content that's coming out. So that's going to happen. I've spoken before about green screen content. I have a green screen here and I still plan on putting those sort of things out, but it's taking a little while to practice the methods of what I'm going to be doing in terms of script writing, in terms of the equipment, in terms of the editing. It's not something that I just want to throw out before it's ready. There's a lot of process that kind of I want to follow so that when I am ready to put videos out, they're going to be really, really good. So keep an eye on that. It will come. It's a bit like the Pokemon series, really. I knew I was going to make Pokemon for 6 months. It took a while for me to film it and then to actually be confident enough to put it out, but once it's out, it'll happen more regularly. Live streaming. Now this comes up quite a lot. Am I likely to do live streaming in the near future? Probably not. And that's to do with skill set. I'm not trained in live streaming at the moment. There's a lot of process I'd have to go through to practice it. Equipment as well. My infrastructure, my internet that I have to this house that I live in isn't the best. Timings wise, you know, streaming requires you to actually sit down at a regular time, and just fitting my life around it right now is really, really tricky. However, something that I am trying to do a little bit more recently is more collaborations. And I was going to mention this in the next point, but it's worth saying with live streams, there is a possibility that I might start turning up on other people's, and if I do, I'll let you know beforehand. You'll see it in community posts, you'll see it in Discord announcements, so if you want to keep an eye on what I'm doing, it's probably more likely I'm going to crash other people's stuff rather than doing my own at the moment. So YouTube Live and Twitch, if that's your kettle of fish, keep an eye on that sort of stuff. Speaking of collaborations, now this is something that I'm trying to do a little bit more, and you'll be pleased to know that I've now filmed a few things. So one of the things that went up was the multiple victory condition game that I did with 100 games, 100 days, and with Inquisitive Otter. That went really well. It was a really fun thing to do. More of those sort of challenge games will be coming out. I've also filmed some multiplayer with, well, you'll find out in a couple of days, and it was really, really good fun. That was the first time I've done anything like that in a long time, where there's been two people playing a game and filming it. I kind of touched on it months ago with VectorCat, who was the leader of the Civ 6 challenge community that was an amazing place for challenge games, and I've always wanted to do more of it. It's taken a little bit of time to get the practice and the infrastructure together to be able to do it, but now that I have, look forward to seeing more of that sort of thing. And actually that collaboration game will be coming out within a few days of this update video coming out. I don't know the exact dates just yet, but expect it either end of August or early September, depending on when it comes out. I really hope you enjoy that. I think it should be really good fun. The game, oh my lord, the game was ridiculous, and it reminded me of the sort of shenanigans you can get up to on Civ 6 multiplayer. Balanced game? It is not. It was really fun. Other games. I've been practicing other games, but it's tricky to find something that I want to commit to. Humankind is often one that comes up a lot. I don't have any plans to play it on the channel at the moment, and it's kind of because I haven't really played it, so I've got no frame of reference or sort of intrinsic enjoyment of the game. It's something that I just haven't played yet. But also, and this is sort of being quite blunt about it, it's all about audience share as well, and Humankind doesn't attract the same numbers of people watching and playing it that Civ does. Even now, Civ years and years down the line, and it sounds really cruel, but unless there was a really cool idea of something I could do on Humankind that I think would get a lot of people watching, it's tricky, and there's no incentive for me right now to move to Humankind from Civ because it's got a smaller audience share. Now, that may not be the case forever, and I may cave and play Humankind soon, and I know a lot of other games are like that as well. Old World is one that gets brought up in the same sort of kettle of fish, and it sounds awful to say it, but when you've only got so long to film in a particular week and you want to get the content out, Civ I know works. I do need to press out and play more games though, so it's something I've been thinking about, and I'll always take recommendations. It's a difficult one. And Pokemon for me in that region was an interesting one because it's a game I love. I used to play huge amounts of it when I was a kid, and it's got a huge internet following. And if you like Civ and 4X games, Pokemon is actually quite a natural fit because the actual mechanics behind the game are way more complicated and way more analytical and mathematical than you would first think. Yeah, I thought that was a good fit. If you ever have ideas and recommendations about the sort of content you want to see, Discord, comments on videos, those are always the good places to put it down. I can't guarantee I will do everything because I literally only have so many hours in a week around everything else to put the YouTube content through. Always feel free to leave the ideas. It is what the channel supporters are for. They always have my ear, and if you want to become part of the community, that's always a good way of doing it, but never feel like you can't suggest things onto the channel. I read every comment. I try and reply to as many as I can. I like to do that. It's a really fun way of, interacting with everybody that you've given me your time. I'll try and give you some of mine as well. But that's sort of a bit of an update about what's going on my side. A bit of business as usual in terms of Civ 6 content, but we're starting to diversify. I really hope you're enjoying the increased quality of videos we're putting out at the moment. I think it's really noticeably making a difference. Fingers crossed you'll agree with that. But back to the game in hand. Now, I mentioned that the game you've been watching was a little bit of fun, and it really was. Now, if you've been on my Discord, you'll have seen that I put the screenshots from this game and my victory onto the Discord so that people could see it is part of the challenge. But as you've been watching this, you'll see that it has been quite a fun game. The game was quite simple. You have to play a Sweden game, you have to win it, and you have to achieve 3 victory conditions that are essentially sort of achievements within Steam, within the game generally, and they were as follows. I think it was Smorgasbord, which is to found a city in all 5 types of terrain that increase your unique improvement, so that once you get them all, I think it's desert, tundra, snow, grass, plains and grassland, yeah, the 5 there, and then you'd get a +10 culture national improvement that you could start putting down. So that was the first one. The second one was to have 6 theatre square buildings that were themed, as well as 4 wonders that were themed with great works of art. Again, really fun to play, and I think I ended up having about 6 or 7 wonders, as well as a lot of art museums, so that was good fun. You also had to steal a great work from the AI without being discovered. Spies. Yay, I love spies. And actually, this was the part of the game that ended up being really interesting because it was the part of the game that I could not do. How you play the game, how you get those achievements, the methods you use are totally up to you. So I, in order to flex a little bit, I played it on Deity++, which is essentially mode 10. If Immortal is 6, Emperor is 6, Immortal is 7, and then Deity is 8, Deity Plus is 9, and Deity Plus Plus is 10. So it's the max difficulty, you can play it according to the challenge. I went for a tilted axis map because I really like them, and they give you a bit more space. Typically, if you're struggling on Deity and you want a little bit of space as well as a bit of landmass, tilted axis is really, really good because everybody kind of starts in a circle with the middle of the map totally frozen over. It's very difficult to get killed by the AI in the early stages of a tilted axis game. I had Heroes and Legends on, I had Secret Societies so that I could go for Void Singers, and I eventually got a Religion with the Reliquaries improvement. You guessed it, this was a relic game. Heroes giving you relics, heroic relics, Void Singers give them to you once you get to the 3rd promotion and you start to send cultists around the map, and Reliquaries give you 3 times the tourism from relics. Very, very easy. The game ended up going a little bit differently because very early into the game, I had a religion spread to me that gave me Feed the World, and I went, actually, I'm gonna keep this for a little bit. So I did keep an eye on the religious victory screen to make sure that nobody won a religious victory. They didn't. I was kind of looking for it, but I kept Feed the World for the longest time, and actually it ended up being really, really good because I got more population, more production, more districts. I had a lot of extra faith, which always helps in any culture game, especially in a Sweden game. But I ended up having to hold off my victory for ages. Now, I was playing on online speed, but even then, I could have won this game on maybe turn 80, probably, which would have been a ridiculously early victory, like a really, really good one, but I had to hold off because I could not steal a great work of art. I had spies, and they either kept getting caught or killed, even with every sort of promotion I can do. I mean, I ended up putting in the policy card that made spies better. I ended up passing on Sweden's unique government plaza building in order to build the spy intelligence building because I needed every improvement I could get. I ended up having more sources. I think one of my attempts had 90% chance of victory, and I ended up having the spy captured on that one, and it was like, oh, for goodness sake. But in the end, it added a lot of interesting dynamics to the game because I ended up having to delay the culture victory for as long as I could. I opened up a tier 4 government to get as max penalty to my tourism as I could. I refused open borders. I refused to send trade routes to the AI. I held off the religion, and actually the religion ended up being ridiculous. When I was ready to win the game, by pressing found religion, I think I went from about 1100 tourism to about 1900, like 1900 in a turn. That's how much extra tourism my relics gave me. I think I had St. Basil's Cathedral, I had Pingala, I had everything, and when the religion went through, I think that one city gave me I think 3 relics gave me 180 tourism. And when you had Christa Redentor as well, obviously it just gives you tourism. It was insane. And I remember doing my tier list, and I said quite confidently that Sweden was top tier, they were S tier. And I got a lot of interesting responses basically telling me I was wrong, but playing this game again, oh my goodness, I am so totally right. Sweden are the top tier of Civ. They are fantastic at culture generation and tourism generation, obviously, but it's all the extra stuff. Faith generation, when all of your relics are giving you themed faith, you start getting incredible faith generation for the rest of the game. It's insane. You start getting extra Diplo favor to sell, and that gives you tons of gold to sell to the AI. You're getting extra scientist points and engineering points. I cannot recommend Sweden enough. They are so broken on single player, and they are so much fun to play. Really, if you like playing culture games or diplomacy games or even science games, Sweden are top tier. And actually religion games, thinking about it, they are also really good because if you get Mont Saint Michel, you get St. Basil's Cathedral, you get any building you can put relics in, the faith generation you'll get out of them to just churn apostles out. Oh my word, they are so powerful. It did remind me though of one of my constant gripes with Civ 6, and that is the lack of being able to get relics in the game outside of getting them randomly from tribal huts or from a very, very convenient candy suzerain at the beginning of the game. I wish relics played more of a part in the game. I wish there were better ways of putting them in. I know you can get them with apostles and having them sacrificed, but it's really difficult to get them. I feel like there should be better ways, and it just sort of made me feel like that. But in the end, once I'd achieved everything, I ended up pressing the button, turning my religion on, switching my government back to a tier 2, putting the online communities cards in, as well as the cards that give you more tourism from music and art. And I think I went to like 2,600 tourism and started winning the game. I think I went from 2/3 tourism to a win in 3 turns. It was the quickest I've ever seen a tourism leap, and it just showed you how much I was having to pull the handbrake on in order to stop that. If you haven't played this game as part of the challenge on Discord, I would really strongly recommend you go. You can play it on any difficulty you want. If you play this on Settler, it's totally fine, you can still do it. If you want to play with mods that stop the AI from building wonders, or if you want to play with mods that stop the AI from declaring war on you, you can do it. It's fine, nobody cares. It's for you to practice and for you to play with, and I really think it's a good idea, and I can be really positive about it because genuinely, the mods run it. It's not me. So, fair play. It was really fun. I also popped my save file on Discord if you want to have a look at this game and how crazy it got. Just copy and paste it onto your computer. I would strongly recommend you give it a go. But that is me from the world of Ursa. I hope you've enjoyed this update video. Coming up soon, we have some fantastic content. And again, thank you everyone for all of your support. I cannot thank you enough. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's incredibly humbling seeing just how much support I get from the vast majority of people that choose to interact with the channel in whatever way, be it comments or Discord or channel support or whatever. And if you know a way of, some sort of evil blood sacrifice that might get the algorithm to like us more, then, I don't need to hear it from you directly, but we'll just leave that on the table. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your support. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye! And finally, a very special shout out goes to Glorious Petra, Salty Tech, Matthew Wilkinson, Paul Coffey, Doughboy91, Scott Stratton, Major King Kong, Davalex, Skeptical Bear, Kroger Brand Trail Mix, Alex Noob, Cinnamon Beard, Portland, Petra Ryan, Matthew Hatch, Emir EC, Henry, Rom88, Radiatore, and Private Selection Genoa Salami for all of your support, as well as everybody that leaves comments and interacts with the channel generally. Thank you so much. See you all next time.